picture this. The alarm goes off, and your very first thought is, oh no, not again, right? Or maybe you just feel completely drained all the time, even if you actually got like 8 hours of sleep. This isn't just normal stress we're talking about. It might be something deeper. Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're diving into something that feels, well, incredibly common in our always-on world, burnout. Our mission here is to really unpack what burnout actually is, figure out how to spot those sneaky symptoms, and, most importantly, give you some practical strategies and answers to help you navigate it, maybe even overcome it. Think of this as your shortcut to understanding this state that affects, honestly, millions of people. We want to offer insights that go beyond just, surface-level advice. We'll start by defining burnout, looking at how it's different from just everyday stress. Then we'll explore its varied causes and the surprising ways it can impact your mental and physical health. And finally, we'll get into the concrete stuff. Tips, examples on setting boundaries, self-care, managing time, and knowing when it's maybe time to seek professional help. All geared towards helping you get your energy and well-being back. So we all feel overwhelmed sometimes, right? Or just plain tired. But when does that feeling, that really tired feeling, cross the line into something more serious, something that really gets in the way?
That is the absolute key question, isn't it? Let's try to unpack that. Stress is the body's natural reaction to demands. It's often temporary. It can even be motivating sometimes, like, a deadline pushes you to get things done.
Right, like good stress sometimes.
Exactly. But burnout is different. It's a state of chronic stress. We're talking profound physical, emotional, and mental exhaustion. It's not just feeling tired. It's this deep depletion that comes from being exposed to stressors for way too long without enough relief or ways to cope.
Okay, so it's the chronic part that's key.
Yes. And the World Health Organization actually gives us a pretty clear framework. They identify 3 key dimensions. First, there's emotional exhaustion. That means feeling totally depleted mentally, physically, emotionally. It feels like no amount of sleep or time off actually helps. Daily tasks feel harder. You might not care about things you used to enjoy.
Wow, okay. That sounds heavy.
It is. Second is depersonalization or detachment. This can feel like you're going numb or just running on autopilot. You might become emotionally distant, maybe cynical, especially about your work or responsibilities. It's often a defense mechanism, really, your brain trying to cope.
Like pulling back to protect yourself.
Precisely. And the third dimension is a reduced sense of accomplishment. This is the feeling that your efforts just don't matter. Even when you finish something, it feels kind of empty or meaningless. You might stop setting goals, feel stuck, just doing things without any sense of reward.
That really paints a picture beyond just, I'm tired. And it feels important to stress, like you said, this isn't about someone being lazy or weak, right?
Absolutely not. Our sources are really clear on this. Burnout isn't a character flaw. It's a natural outcome when your body and mind are pushed way beyond their limits for too long without the chance to rest and reset.
Okay, now, something that often comes up is the difference between burnout and depression. They could look similar sometimes, can't they?
They can, and that's a fascinating point. While the symptoms might overlap exhaustion, low mood, lack of interest, there's a key difference. Depression is a diagnosable mental health condition with potentially broader causes and symptoms. Burnout, while serious, isn't classified the same way. It's typically seen as a response to a specific environment or situation, most often a stressful job, but it could be intense caregiving or something similar.
So burnout is more situational?
Generally, yes. Think of it like this. If you're clinically depressed and you go on a lovely vacation, say, to a villa in the south of France, unfortunately, those depressive symptoms are likely coming with you. But if you're dealing with burnout primarily linked to your job, once you detach from that specific stressful situation, you'd probably be able to actually enjoy that vacation, to relax a bit. That highlights the situational trigger for burnout, though of course they can definitely coexist and influence each other.
That's a really helpful distinction. Knowing what burnout is helps frame the problem. But I think the question a lot of people have is, why now? Why does it feel like this is everywhere? What are the common things pushing us towards this state?
Yeah, it does feel like an epidemic sometimes. The causes are often complex and tangled together. Work-related stress is, unsurprisingly, a huge driver.
Yeah.
And it's not just high workloads and long hours. Those play a part. Research points to things like a lack of control. Maybe you feel like you have autonomy, but you don't really control how you do tasks, or you can't say no to more work. That lack of actual control can be more draining than just the volume of work itself.
Ah, the illusion of control. That makes sense.
Exactly. Then you have personal life challenges, things like money worries, relationship problems, or being a primary caregiver. These add significant strain. And we also have to look inward at our internal beliefs and emotions. Things like perfectionism, or maybe a more pessimistic outlook, or even just difficulty managing strong emotions can make someone more vulnerable to burnout.
So it's a mix of external pressures and internal factors.
Right. And a really crucial one, often overlooked, is a lack of boundaries. Especially now, with remote work blurring the lines and constant digital connection, it's incredibly hard to properly switch off.
Tell me about it. The phone is always there.
Precisely. And one study highlighted something interesting for women. Specifically, it can sometimes be harder to set boundaries or delegate tasks, often combined with carrying a heavier load of childcare or elder care. This contributes to what some call the exhaustion gap.
The exhaustion gap, yeah, I've heard that term.
And finally, let's not forget societal pressures. We live in this hustle-obsessed culture that often seems to normalize being constantly exhausted. It praises nonstop productivity, multitasking, doing it all. You almost feel guilty if you're not busy.
That hustle culture definitely resonates. It feels like you're supposed to wear exhaustion as a badge of honor sometimes. So if someone's caught in that, constantly pushing, how does that relentless stress actually impact their health, mentally and physically?
The impacts are really far-reaching. Because your body's stress response system, the fight or flight thing, it's designed for short bursts of danger, not being switched on all the time. Mentally, this chronic stress can contribute to anxiety disorders, depression, that feeling of depersonalization we mentioned, a reduced sense of accomplishment, and just a general hit to your self-worth. You might experience brain fog, find it hard to make decisions, or pull back socially. Physiologically, it's interesting, your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain handling reasoning, can actually slow down. Meanwhile, the amygdala, your fear center, becomes overactive. It starts seeing even small stressors as major threats.
Wow, so it actually changes how your brain functions.
It really does. And physically, that constant stress alert weakens your immune system. Maybe you catch every cold going around. It increases the risk of cardiovascular problems, can worsen things like high blood pressure or diabetes. And then there are the more immediate physical symptoms: persistent headaches, muscle tension, stomach issues, changes in appetite or sleep patterns. It's basically your body waving a big red flag saying, "I'm overwhelmed."
It really sounds like a whole system breakdown when it gets bad. Which brings us to a tricky part. Recognizing it. You mentioned it can creep up slowly. It's not like flicking a switch, is it? We can get so used to feeling this way, it starts to feel normal.
That's exactly the danger. Its pervasive, long-lasting nature means people adapt. You might be so used to running at 110% that you genuinely don't realize you crossed the line into exhaustion miles back. It just becomes your baseline reality.
So how do we spot it then, before it completely takes over?
It's vital to know the signs, even the subtle ones. A key one is persistent fatigue. Not just tired, but feeling deeply weary, even after sleep. Simple tasks might feel like climbing a mountain.
Right, that bone-deep tiredness.
Exactly. Another big indicator is apathy or dissatisfaction, especially with work. Asking yourself, what's the point? Feeling like you're just going through the motions, no real satisfaction. And this can hit anyone, entry-level folks, CEOs. It doesn't discriminate by career stage.
Okay, what else?
Headaches, particularly tension headaches, are a common physical sign. Noticeable changes to your diet or sleep, eating way more or less, sleeping erratically, needing much more sleep, or maybe hardly sleeping at all.
Yeah.
Emotionally, look out for increased irritability, anxiety, sadness, feeling emotionally numb or cynical, or just a lack of enthusiasm for anything. Maybe you snap easily over small things or feel like you've just shut down inside.
Like the emotional tank is empty.
Totally. And lastly, watch for behavioral changes. Maybe leaning more on unhealthy coping mechanisms like alcohol or drugs, withdrawing from friends or hobbies, or seeing a clear dip in your performance, whether at work or school.
It's striking how many of those taken alone could just be a bad week. But when they pile up, experts suggest asking yourself some direct questions too, like, are you often moody or irritated? Does it feel like you're always worrying about something? Even little things. Are you constantly catching colds, feeling run down? Do tiny inconveniences feel like major disasters? If you're nodding along to some of these, it's a really strong signal to, pay attention. Your body and mind are trying to tell you something important.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've built a clear picture of burnout, what it is, how it sneaks up. But now, the really crucial part, the bit I'm honestly eager to get into. How do we move beyond just recognizing it? How do we start reclaiming our well-being? What are those first practical steps?
Yes, let's get into the what now, because just knowing isn't enough, is it? And a really common misconception, as our sources really emphasize, is that, oh, a good vacation will fix it.
Right, just need a week on a beach.
If only. The reality, often, is that a vacation can be like putting a Band-Aid on a bullet wound if you don't actually change the underlying conditions that led to burnout in the first place.
Sure.
True, sustainable recovery needs intentional effort. It requires actively regulating your nervous system. It's not just about relaxing, it's about consciously guiding your body out of that chronic stress state, telling it, it's safe now, you can rest and recover.
That Band-Aid on a bullet wound analogy is really potent. But, for many people who are that depleted, a vacation feels like the only possible relief. How do you convince someone that more is needed and they just want to escape?
That's a real challenge. I think the key is understanding that until you tackle the root cause and actively help your internal system reset, that vacation only provides temporary relief. You'll likely just fall back into the same patterns afterwards. So let's break down some strategies that go deeper, starting with something foundational: boundaries.
Boundaries. The word everyone uses, but what does it really mean in practice?
Great question. Setting boundaries basically means creating clear guidelines for yourself and others about what behaviors you're okay with and what you're not, what you will and won't do with your time and energy. And it's not just about protecting yourself, though that's huge. Good boundaries actually improve workplace relationships by fostering respect. When you set them, you often encourage others to do the same.
Okay, so how do we do it? Are there different kinds?
Yes, thinking about different types can make it feel more manageable. Let's look at 3. Mental, physical, and emotional. Mental boundaries are about protecting your mental energy, especially limiting work thoughts outside work hours.
Okay, examples.
Sure, set and stick to work hours, like really stick to them. This creates that separation and signals your availability. No more checking email at 10 p.m., another one. Prioritize projects with your boss. Get clarity on what's truly critical. This helps you focus and stops you feeling overwhelmed by a vague, endless list. And reduce digital distractions. Silence Slack or email notifications when you need to focus. Protect that mental space. It boosts efficiency and reduces that feeling of being constantly pulled in different directions.
Okay, mental boundaries. Got it. What about physical?
Physical boundaries enhance your comfort and performance, often by separating work and home environments, even if you work remotely. For instance, choose when to use your webcam. Research actually links constant camera use in meetings to fatigue. Zoom fatigue is real, so be selective. Conserve your energy.
Interesting. I hadn't thought of the webcam as a boundary.
It can be. Also, communicate your personal space preferences. Maybe you prefer handshakes over hugs at work, clearly stating that fosters respect. And crucially, schedule regular breaks. Get up, walk around, maybe step outside for lunch. Physically removing yourself helps you recharge and stay focused. Don't just eat at your desk while working.
Right, actual breaks, not just switching tasks. Okay, and emotional boundaries.
Emotional boundaries are about understanding how work impacts your emotions and taking steps to protect your well-being. Examples here could be: communicate your feedback preferences. Tell your boss how you best receive constructive criticism so it feels helpful, not hurtful. Limit interactions with toxic coworkers. If someone consistently drains you or makes you feel bad, intentionally reduce your contact with them where possible. Create a more positive emotional space for yourself.
That could be tricky, but important.
Very. Also, take sick days and mental health days when you need them. Don't feel guilty. Use your time off. Recognizing you need a break is vital for your happiness and preventing burnout. And finally, delegate tasks when you feel overloaded. Learn to share the load or redistribute work. Knowing when to ask for help is a key skill for managing stress and staying productive, not a sign of weakness.
Those examples really make boundaries feel practical, not just theoretical. So boundaries protect our energy. What about actively rebuilding it? That brings us to self-care, right?
Exactly. B, prioritizing self-care. And let's be clear, self-care isn't selfish indulgence, it's necessary maintenance. It's about those intentional practices that actively help regulate your nervous system, bringing it back from that chronic stress state. It's foundational for rebuilding resilience. And the great news is, it doesn't have to be these huge, time-consuming things. Even a few minutes each day focused on calming your system can make a real difference to your well-being. The mantra here is practice, not perfection.
Okay, so what does self-care actually look like? Beyond bubble baths, I mean.
Yes, beyond bubble baths, though those can be nice too. It spans several areas. Physical, getting enough sleep, eating balanced meals, basic hygiene, regular movement, even 15 minutes of yoga or a walk counts. And keeping up with medical checkups. Emotional. This could be therapy, practicing mindfulness or deep breathing, maybe keeping a gratitude journal. Engaging in hobbies you genuinely enjoy. Spending quality time with supportive people. Mental, things like learning something new, reading, solving puzzles. And importantly, exercising the mental muscle of setting boundaries and saying no when you need to.
Saying no is self-care.
Absolutely. Spiritual. This isn't necessarily religious. It could be spending time in nature, meditating, volunteering, anything that connects you to a sense of purpose or meaning. And social, actively nurturing healthy relationships with friends and family. Maybe joining a club or group to foster connection around shared interests.
What really stands out there is that it's not a one-size-fits-all prescription. It's about tuning into what you actually need to feel replenished, not just doing what you think you should be doing.
Precisely. It's personal. Listen to your own needs.
Okay, so even with good boundaries and efforts at self-care, if our days still feel like a chaotic scramble against the clock, burnout can still loom large. Which brings us to time management.
Yes, C, time management. Efficient time management is described in the sources as a strategic ally in the battle against burnout. Because poor time management does turn work into that relentless race against the clock, creating chronic urgency, which is a fast track to burnout. You never feel like you're catching up.
So how do we manage time better, realistically?
Some key strategies come up again and again. First, don't overplan. Resist the urge to cram your day full. Focus on the most important high-impact tasks for that day. Set achievable goals. Trying to do everything is a recipe for feeling like a failure.
Right, be realistic.
Exactly. Second, prioritize ruthlessly. Use methods like the Eisenhower matrix, urgent versus important, to focus your energy on tasks that truly align with your goals. Make sure your effort is going where it counts. Third, embrace delegation. If possible, share responsibilities. Don't be afraid to communicate when your plate is full. Collaboration is key. It's not about doing it all yourself. And fourth, allocate time for breaks. Seriously, schedule them in if you have to. Stepping away, even for short bursts, is crucial for refreshing your mind and maintaining focus. It prevents that mental fatigue from setting in.
There's also this interesting concept, the 6% methodology from Dr. Michelle Rosen. It's based on research suggesting only about 6% of people who set goals actually stick to them.
Ah, yes, I've heard of that.
It encourages you to get really specific, reflect on your current habits, then set precise, meaningful goals. Not just manage time better, but say, I will spend the first hour of my workday on my most important task, or I will take a 20-minute walk at 1 p.m. every day. And the key is consistency, sticking to that new schedule for 30 days to make it a real habit. It's about that intentionality and precision.
That makes a lot of sense. Vague goals lead to vague results. Precision helps build habits.
Okay, boundaries, self-care, time management. These are powerful tools. But sometimes we need more support. We need to talk about recognizing when it's time to bring in the professionals.
Absolutely crucial. D, seeking professional help. While all these self-help strategies are valuable, sometimes they aren't enough. Professional help is really important if burnout symptoms are severe, if they're persistent, and if they're significantly impairing your ability to function day to day or enjoy your life.
What kind of signs indicate it's time for that step?
Look for things like significant unexplained weight loss or gain, deep social isolation, chronic insomnia that isn't resolving, intense anxiety, pervasive apathy, or feelings of hopelessness. And critically, any thoughts of self-harm or suicide that requires immediate professional help.
It's okay to need that help.
More than okay, it's wise. Seeing a therapist provides, as one source put it, a safe place to talk with someone who is not a family member, or a friend, or a coworker, but someone who is impartial and trained to give clinical feedback. That impartial perspective can be truly life-changing.
What kind of therapy is helpful for burnout?
Several approaches can be effective. Cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT, is common. It helps you identify and challenge those unhelpful thought patterns that fuel burnout, like perfectionism or negative self-talk. Acceptance and commitment therapy, ACT, is another. It focuses on psychological flexibility, learning to accept difficult feelings without letting them control you, while committing to actions aligned with your personal values. And sometimes, therapies like EMDR, eye movement desensitization, and reprocessing can be helpful, especially if past trauma or distressing memories are contributing to the chronic stress response underlying the burnout.
It's good to know there are different options depending on the person's needs. So we've established a vacation isn't the magic cure-all. And these strategies, while effective, take time and effort. What does real sustainable recovery from burnout actually look like day to day?
That's the core of it, isn't it? Recovery isn't a quick fix or reaching some finish line. It's an ongoing process. It requires that intentional effort and, again, that focus on nervous system regulation, actively helping your body shift out of survival mode. It really means understanding that your brain and body can heal, but they need your permission and your active support to do it. They need to move from fight or flight back to rest and digest.
So what does that look like in practice? What are the hallmarks of real recovery?
Real recovery involves several shifts. It involves saying no without guilt, truly learning to set and maintain those boundaries around your time and energy, even when it feels uncomfortable initially. It involves resting without feeling you need to earn it, prioritizing actual downtime for your mind and body, understanding that rest is productive. It's not laziness, it's essential maintenance.
Unlearning that guilt around rest, that's big.
Huge. It also involves reconnecting with things that bring you joy. Hobbies, people, maybe even aspects of work that genuinely energize and fulfill you outside of just pure obligation. And feeling your emotions without being overwhelmed. Developing healthier ways to notice, process, and manage your internal state, rather than either suppressing your feelings or being completely consumed by them.
Learning emotional regulation skills.
Exactly. And critically, it involves addressing the root causes, working to understand and, where possible, change the underlying factors, the job situation, the relationship dynamics, the internal patterns that led to burnout in the first place. You have to treat the cause, not just the symptoms, for lasting change.
So it's really about building resilience for the long haul.
Precisely. Ultimately, recovery is about consciously creating a new normal. A way of living where your energy, your boundaries, your overall well-being are consistently prioritized. Not just when you hit rock bottom. As the sources so aptly put it, we can't pour from an empty cup. Your relationship with yourself, your mental and physical health, it has to come first.
That's a powerful reminder. We've really covered a lot of ground today in this deep dive into burnout. We've defined it, distinguished it from stress, explored the complex causes and symptoms. But most importantly, we've hopefully armed you with a whole toolkit of actionable strategies. Setting boundaries, prioritizing real self-care, managing time wisely, knowing when to seek help, all designed to help you not just cope, but genuinely move towards thriving again. And remember, recognizing that you might be experiencing burnout. That's actually a sign of strength, self-awareness, definitely not weakness. You do have the power to make conscious changes to your mindset, your workload, your habits, and to put your health and well-being back at the center. It's not just about surviving, it's about reclaiming your energy and your life. So, to leave you with something to think about, considering everything we've discussed today about managing energy and protecting well-being, what's one boundary, just one that you've maybe hesitated to set, but setting it might actually be the most crucial first step towards your new norm?